Nope, we're on TV now. You're safe.
Have you watched that harassment?
Yeah. Oh, I've been through harassing training. I've been through harassing training in office, and I passed just fine.
It didn't stick, though.
Good evening. The Design Review Board #1 public meeting of January the 8th, 2009 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You will be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meeting. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by calling our Design Review Board hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and DRB reconsideration and appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date, depending on the application. The case planner will announce the length of the appeal period with each case. The chairperson may reorder items at his or her discretion. Roll call, Board Member Aliano.
Here.
Board Member Ellis.
Present.
Board Member Insua.
Here.
Board Member Simonian.
Present.
Board Member Yu.
Here.
Report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on December 30th, 2008. Oral communications. Do we have any oral communication speaker cards?
I do not.
Do not, thank you. So we go straight to the review calendar. There are no staff announcements. There are no cases on the consent calendar, and that would mean we go straight directly to the Design Review Board case agenda. The first case is being presented by Roger Kiesel.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. The first item before you is Design Review case number 2008-079-A, a review of a proposal to construct a new 425 square foot attached garage and legalization of an existing 373 square foot addition. The proposed project is located at 2931 Oakendale Place in the R1 zone. Let me go over with you what's on the board. It's over here.
He's got it.
Oh, thank you. Basically, we have the site plan here. Oakendale Place is here. The existing residence is right here. The proposed garage is here. And then the legalization of this addition is right here. Floor plan is here. Elevation drawings. This is the front elevation along Oakendale. And I just put this up because of the oak tree notes. There are 4 oak trees on or just off site. And the note here, the oak tree urban forester has been out there. So I just put the note, sheet with the note on it. The new attached garage is proposed in the front of the existing single-family house, and the addition is proposed at the rear of the residence. 4 on-site or just off-site oak trees influence the site planning of the project. The urban forester has inspected the site and, based on the visit, determined that the proposed project would not significantly impact the trees. The applicant will need to comply with the standard oak tree protection requirements. And that's what that note says, and I think the reduced copies that you have in front of you also have that note. The mass and scale of the residence will not significantly increase as a result of the project. The house will remain 1 story, and its modulated design will create courtyards on the side elevations. Materials used for the project will match the existing residence and will include wood windows and a composite shingle roof. As noted in the staff report, staff is recommending approval of the project. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Do we have any questions from staff?
Did you get an answer on that setback line?
It's 5 feet.
Up to the existing. The existing is 5 foot?
Well,
No.
no, the garage is 5 feet
foot.
from the interior, that would be the eastern
Gotcha.
property line.
Mr. Ellis, what exactly is the question?
On the diagram, on the drawings, if you look here, there was only the setback from the wall, not the setback from the property line.
I see.
And it come up, I guess, a phone call or something we talked about a little earlier before the
Correct.
meeting started.
Mr. Kiesel, I have a question. As far as the legalization of the addition, when was that addition finished?
That I don't know. You would probably need to talk to the applicant to get a final date. It just was not permitted in our records.
I see.
So, and I don't believe it wasn't stated in the staff report either. So Mr. Garagos may have a better idea of when that was actually done.
Do you have any questions for staff?
Was there an existing garage before, or?
There was never an existing garage. There was a carport that was built sometime earlier. Let's see. In the 1990s, there was a variance granted, but there was never a on-site garage. The house was built in 1946, 1947, but there was never a garage on site.
And can you just go over, I guess, the basics of how you would legalize an illegal addition on the
Well,
planning side of it?
Sure. We would look at a legalization like a proposed addition to the single-family house. It's not there now. This is what they want to do, and you would look at it in the same manner.
Does the addition meet all the requirements as far as setbacks?
It does.
And does the addition increase the FAR above the required, or the allowed, I should say?
No, it does not.
And the height is not an issue because it's a single story?
No.
No. So there's no zoning violations whatsoever?
There is not. Otherwise, to legalize it, part of the process of that legalization would have been to apply for and receive approval of variances.
Okay.
Well, I'll ask that to the applicant. I have some questions for you.
Do we have any other questions for staff? Well, I don't have any note cards, but I assume, Mr. Gregos, that you're going to do the presentation for this applicant.
I will give you a card. Good afternoon, good evening. Mike Aragus, 3501 Buena Vista, Glendale. Actually, to answer a couple of questions that come up, there was actually the front was an old garage way back when. There was a conversion that happened by permit to make it a bedroom. I'm not sure if what was on site when that happened. That was back in the day when you could get a permit with a single piece of paper and you walked in there and you got a building permit. So it was back in the old days.
It looks like it would have.
So that was converted. They actually did a carport. They had a variance to do that. There's a trellis that's out in front also that was part of that approval. So if you happen to notice the big structure that's in front, that actually is permitted by variance. What happened was they had some really fabulous oak trees there, one of which fell and took out the carport that was there. So that necessitated this whole process. When they purchased the house, I'm not sure the exact date, but I want to say they purchased it in the 80s, and that addition was there at that time. So it's at least 20 or 30 years old. Not that that matters, but it does comply in all ways, and we would be going through the building department to get permits for it and make sure that everything was legally done and done properly. So that's all part of the process that we'd be going through. They were pretty good about consistency of materials. I think that was done well. The addition that was done in back kept it consistent throughout the house. And we would be doing the same with the garage, keeping the same materials as we wrap around the house. There's really no other place for that garage to go. If you happen to notice the oak trees and the quite extensive landscape work that was done in front, there's really no other location for it. There's a lot of other houses. I know it's not the preference to have sort of the front of your house being the garage, but a majority of the homes on that street, I'd say almost every home on that street, has a garage that's in front facing the street, so it would be not unusual in that neighborhood. If there's any other questions?
Yes. I thought there is a garage. Isn't there a garage? Isn't this the garage right now? Because I thought I saw a door.
That's what I'm saying. I think it was a garage at one time because there was a conversion. That's what I was saying. There was a conversion done previously, and I think it was in the 50s,
Okay.
where it was turned legally into a room with that substandard setback. And the substandard setback was noted at the time.
I see. But from the street, though, you see garage doors, right? Am I envisioning?
Next door is a garage. They're right, very close
I
together.
know that's confusing the way they.
Yeah. No, the one on the
about
right.
The one over here. There's a garage
If
right
you
here.
see the
There's a picture that
Oh, yeah.
shows the garage, and it's actually the property to the left of the
adjacent
picture.
property.
Yeah, I know it's very confusing. I know. I've been there. Yeah.
That's actually adjacent property on the east.
Right.
Yeah. But the garage right now, the adjacent garage is right there, so this will be aligned, right?
Right.
Right.
Existing neighbor's garage.
Okay.
Neighbors.
Well, that's the question I have.
Uh-huh.
One of the questions. We don't have a landscaping plan, but I wonder, what are your plans for this area here? You know, and here.
I think there's some planting there. There's quite a bit of landscaping, and they would want to keep it consistent.
Yeah, you don't see it on that picture.
Yeah, I don't know that there was any special preference. I mean, we could work with staff on something if we had to.
Well, what I thought, have you considered maybe putting some hedges or something there?
Yeah, we could
Because
condition
when-
that, working with staff.
Because the garage next door, most of the garages on that street are kind of like, they repeat a rhythmic repetition. They're not next to each other. There's always either something landscaping. And once you put your garage next to it, from the street, it's going to look like two big garages.
Sure.
And I'm concerned about that. But you can probably solve that by just maybe putting a hedge, maybe a 6-foot hedge, that when you look at from an angle, at least the two garages are separated. They don't look like one big one.
Yeah, I think that'd be fine.
Other than that, it's a really nice place. Another question. The door that we see here, this is the back, right? This is the
That's the
one
front of the
already
house.
built.
The left one is the back of the house.
Yeah,
That's
this is already built, right? That's for the one that you're
That's the
trying to
front
leave.
elevation, though. That's the front elevation.
Right, but this piece here.
Yeah.
That's part of the
is the
legalization.
front
Yes.
of this piece,
It's the
right?
storage,
Right.
yeah.
Which would be, let's see, that's, what am I looking at? It's basically this view.
Right.
That's why it's all the way in the back, okay. But this is for the back, all right, very good.
I just graded out because you really don't sense the building in that elevation that way. 'cause it's
Yeah,
back.
no, this is far back.
Yeah,
But
way
it's
at the back.
misleading because this is what you really see from the street
Yeah,
when the lights
if you
go.
really look.
Yeah, you have to look through the trellis.
Through the trellis.
All right, I don't have anything else. And then the materials, you're matching everything that's there?
All materials are matching.
Siding, the shingles and all that.
Right.
Windows, the garage door, what kind of a door is it? New sectional garage door?
Be sectional. Because it's south facing, I wasn't going to do a wood door because I don't think it would last. So it would be a quality sectional garage door.
But it'll be metal, though.
Metal, yeah, it would be metal.
Okay.
Just only because of its orientation. I don't think the wood would last very well there.
Is the fascia going to be painted wood, or is it going to be some sort of a metal covered to match the
The
roof?
existing house is wood. It actually is a painted wood fascia. They do have a drip edge that comes down that consists, I believe, on the backside. On the front, they have
And
a
the
drip edge.
rafters are exposed?
They're all exposed, yeah. It's a 4x6, a heavy timber look.
On the door, have you considered maybe doing like I hate the way it sounds, I have good intentions. The fiberglass door that's paintable, that at least you make it look like a paintable surface, because the metal might
I think
have
if you
this
could do it as
sort
a
of
consideration, I
high-tech
think you'd
look.
look at it. I mean, if we could do it as a consideration, sure.
Or metal that can be painted on site,
Sure.
so it doesn't have this sort of high-tech finish, because most of the metal doors that you see are they don't have a lot of character,
If you could do that as a consideration, sure, yeah.
I mean, for this house, I think something with more character would be better.
Sure.
Especially because you got shingles, and I don't think that the door wants to be a sort of modern, high-tech metal
Right.
door.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't. It's a paneled, it would be a paneled door.
Okay.
Stamped panel door, not a...
All right. Don't I have anything else?
Any other questions for the architect? No? Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other speakers in the audience that would want to speak on this project? No? So we'll go ahead and close the public portion. Mr. Aliano, you want to take the lead in 2009 and start off?
Sure. I think this is a really nice project. You did a good job. I already expressed my concerns, and if the planning department can follow up on that, on the door, to make sure it's a nice, high-quality door that looks, even if it's metal, I want it to look substantial, more crafted door rather than just a slick metal door. And then the hedge, if there's any way to put in a hedge of some sort. Not a hedge, but at least a massive landscaping, something like that can divide the two garages a little bit. Other than that, I'm in support of the project. I think it's going to be nice. Thank you.
Mr. Yu?
No, I don't have anything to add. I'm ready to approve it.
Mr. Insua?
Nothing to add?
Mr. Ellis?
I agree. With nothing to add or his comments.
Yeah. Very good.
It's a great project. I'm
It starts in 2009. That's
I'm always a little hesitant on the legalization issue, but I think, with Michael being here, and it obviously wasn't, from their description, done as a slipshod manner. It does match. In fact, when you look at it, the pictures, it's hard to tell that it was actually. In fact, I'll move to approve PDR. I'm sorry, you need to talk.
Perhaps.
I apologize.
I concur with my colleagues. I think it's a sensitive remodel. There isn't really much to it. There's really no other place to put the garage, and you put it in the front, and you match in the metal roof and the shingles and so forth. So I don't really have anything else to add as well. So please do go ahead and make a motion, and we'll proceed.
Right.
Perhaps before you make a motion, Mr. Kiesel will read back some of the considerations.
Sure. The first was consider planting hedges between the garages and the subject site, the garages on the subject site and the adjacent site to the east. And then consider installing a fiberglass or high-quality metal door that can be painted on site. Is that a consideration, or is it a...
Well, I think all I would say is, ensure that the door is a high-quality,
Okay.
well-crafted door, and that's enough.
Okay.
If everybody's okay with that.
And these are considerations. As considerations, okay.
Well, ensure that the garage door is high quality is not a consideration.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we're saying ensure, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, is everybody okay with that, or then let's make it a condition?
Okay. All right, and were the board members fine with the summary statements of the record of decision that was contained in the staff report?
You want to repeat them very quickly?
If you'd like me to, I can. The first one was, overall, the site plan is well conceived. The site plan fits well within the context of the neighborhood, a majority of which have attached garages on the front with a relatively consistent street front setback. The existing house with 25-foot street front setback remains aligned with the adjacent properties. The second one, overall, the mass and scale of the house provides for an addition and a building that appears relatively modest in scale with minimal impact on the streetscape or adjacent properties. The proposal will not add to the height of the building, and the project relates well to the mass and scale of adjacent buildings and is therefore appropriate to the surrounding context. And the final one is, overall, the style of the proposed building fits well within the neighborhood. The proposed garage matches the existing home in style and materials and therefore appears to fit in well and be in harmony with the neighborhood. The addition at the rear matches the rest of the house. Fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Mr. Kiesel?
Right, motion to approve the project was made, and was there a second?
Not yet.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion was made to approve the project with one consideration and one condition. This will be a roll call. Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Aliano?
Yes.
Mr. Insua?
Yes.
Mr. Yu?
Yes.
Mr. Simonian?
Yes.
Great, motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you would remember to fill out a card.
Card, yes, here's your card.
Our next case is 1-PDR-2008-071-A. 2007, Rangeview Drive.
Thank you,
And
Mr. Chair.
Lito is our case planner.
Yes,
Take it away.
thank you. This next case is located at 2007 Rangeview Drive, and it is a first-time submittal for final review. The applicant is proposing to add a 305-square-foot addition to the existing 1,742-square-foot single-family house. It's one-story in height, and it currently has an existing one-car detached garage, and the site size is 8,000 square feet, or the total lot area, rather. They are proposing minor additions throughout various areas of the house, and that would include at the front, the side, and the rear. The main change to the house is basically the exterior remodel, and I'll go through it in the report as well as to what the changes are. They will be constructing a new 600-square-foot attached two-car garage, although the plans do call out for 3-car, but that third space is not based on the floor plan. It calls out for laundry area and exercise area, so we're not classifying it as a garage or an actual space per se, or legal parking space. But they're fine with the 2-car garage and the spaces. That does comply with code. A new covered patio is being introduced at the rear between the garage and the house, and again, the exterior of the house will be remodeled. Let me just approach the board and go over where the locations are as it relates to the additions, and then I'll go over the staff report. So as I indicated earlier, one addition is actually 77 square feet will be taking place at the front facing the street. The second addition, or the next addition, will be located facing the driveway. And the addition at the rear basically would include an extension of the existing at the rear next to the bedroom with the new bathroom and then the garage, as I alluded to earlier. They are making some changes to the front as well as it relates to the landscaping. They're proposing new planter walls. I do have some details regarding that, so I've pinned that up on the board. So if you have more questions as to what it's going to look like and details, again, it's there. And again, also they will be making changes, as I alluded to earlier, as it relates to the design of the house and the materials. Currently, it's a Tudor style. They will still remain Tudor style. However, again, the use of materials is changing. So it's going to be completely brick material, and the windows, the details with the precast stone, all that is new. Okay, so if there are any questions regarding these plans, I'll go into the report.
So the windows are also in there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Is the property summary sheet available? Adjacent properties and so forth?
The-
Setbacks and...
Oh, yes, I do have a
pictures
copy of
and
that,
so
yeah.
forth. If you would, can you elaborate a little more on what exactly is changing as far as the windows and the material and so forth?
Let me go through the report only because I don't have everything right here.
Okay.
Again, the main that we can see visible, because I want to look at the report and make sure I have the correct material before I say it's wood. I believe it is going to be wood, but I'll make sure it is. The applicant is nodding his head, so they will be wood. Except for this one is going to be leaded glass, obviously. And they're proposing the stone, precast stone, all around, all the front windows, and then for sills underneath all the windows. And that's, again, one of the character-defining features of this style home. And that's why they're proposing it. And we have made some comments that we thought they were actually very good details that enhance the actual design.
And is there any specific reason for the addition of the planters in the front? It seems as though they're doing quite a bit of work. Is that an accessibility ramp that's being put in?
I'll have the applicant address that. I'm not sure if whether it's an accessibility issue or not, or basically maybe just enhancing the front landscaping based on perhaps the property owner's request, but I will have the applicant address that.
All right.
Any other questions? And again, details regarding the actual brick, I have pinned it up here for you. I've also included some copies of details as well on the material board. I've attached it because we wanted to have clarification as to the size, the depth, the width of the brick material, because obviously that does make a difference in this type of style home. Rather than just having a thin veneer type, we wanted to have something have more depth to make it at least more, looking more like a true brick style material.
So the corners are going to be, they're going to be interlocked rather than wider.
Yes. The applicant has nodded his head, so I'm going to say yes. Okay? Okay. Here's the copy of the item you were requesting for the neighborhood comparison.
Okay.
Is that what you were requesting? Board Member
Actually, no,
Simone?
this was in the package. Very good. And the pictures?
They're being passed around.
Right here. They're here. They're here.
So that wasn't the item you wanted to review?
It was actually. Now that I looked at it, I remember it was part of the
Oh,
package.
okay.
Because I remember the handwritten notes on it. So
Yeah.
pretty distinctive.
Okay. Yeah, I actually wrote those notes because that item was missing, so. Okay, as far as the details in the report, again, I went over the project description, so I wanted just to basically summarize some of the, or highlight some of the items that staff noted. For example, regarding the site planning, most of the existing site plan conditions will be maintained, except, as I mentioned earlier, the new planter walls at the front. However, again, the overall site plan is consistent with the general neighborhood pattern. Regarding the mass and the scale of the building, it's not significantly going to change. As previously indicated, the project will maintain its existing setback. The addition will result in a relatively minor increase in size. However, it is not out of context in relationship to the general neighborhood. They are proposing 2,047 square feet and compared to 1,742 square feet. Now, regarding the details, in summary, staff noted that the proposed material for the house would enhance the overall design of the house and is compatible with the proposed architecture. The Tudor Revival architecture is still being preserved, which is consistent with the overall neighborhood character. We do have some comments regarding the, under recommendations in the draft record of decision. Staff is recommending approval if the board decides or wishes to do so. We do recommend approval for the board as presented because it is compatible with the design guidelines and the overall neighborhood context. We did outline specific conditions or considerations for the board to take into consideration in their deliberation, and that would be, for example, that the brick veneer to be true brick and the specific dimensions noted, that information came from the actual manufacturer. I contacted them directly based on the information that the applicant provided, the actual name of the manufacturer and the type of brick that they actually offer. So that's where those specific dimensions came from. And as noted, is 7 5/8 inch in length, 3 5/8 inch in depth, and 2 1/4 inch in height. And that's by Pacific Clay face brick or equal. Number 2 was that all window sills shall be cast stone. Number 3, that the brick facade will incorporate texture and pattern as showed on the colored elevations. The doors and fascia at the roof shall be painted wood. And the front northeast window shall be leaded glass configuration as shown on the south elevation, sheet number 7. And again, we just want to, although these are the items that the applicant has proposed, but we want to make sure that they actually are incorporated in the final product out in the field, because these items actually are what enhance the design of the building and make it basically, or the look that it is being presented for you. With that, that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be available to answer them.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff? Well, Well, I don't have any speaker cards for this, but I would imagine, Mr. Grist, that you're going to make a presentation. Please.
Give this to you?
Please, and if you would, just state your name.
I thought you had to do it if you were not on this list.
That's all right. If you would state your name for the record, please.
My name is John Grist. I'm an architect. My firm is Grist Associates. My son, Mark Grist, who's an associate, was one of the project managers on this project. He's here also in case I need to refer to him. Milka was a joy to work with. She stated it very well. The windows are going to be wood. Most of the windows retain their same size. There are a few windows because of the interior remodel, which, as she said, is not great. A few windows were changed in size. Actually, a couple of them. Where'd she go? Stephanie made a couple of recommendations which we thought were good, and so we incorporated them. But I would say 80% of the windows, if not 90% of the windows, are the same size as they are, except that the old motley group of windows are being removed, and all new windows with the panes as shown are being installed.
And they're going to be wood windows?
There will be wood windows. Question was asked about the planters. It's not really, it's not exactly an access ramp because there's some steps and then a ramp and some steps, but the floor is about that far off the grade, and we just did that as a architectural element to cut the scale down a little bit, and make the transition a little more gracious.
And do we have a? Is that it? Are you?
Unless you have some other questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions for the architect?
Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
On the report here, they indicate that, or at least it's written here, that it's going to be a new brick veneer.
That's true.
Replacing the existing heavily troweled stucco. And in the recommendations from the city, they want to see a true brick.
That's true.
Could present a lot of problems, will it not? As far as the footings, the connections, the depths of the windows that you planned with the veneer, so on and so forth.
Actually, we've already made the detail. It doesn't present any problems in installing the windows. In fact, the stone sills is one of the means we're using to make that transition. And as far as the foundation for the new veneer, the engineer has already given us a detail on that. And it's not, I've been in this business for a long time, and back in the day we used to do a lot of veneer, and so we know how to do it.
Just wanted to make sure you're prepared for it, because there's a big difference between
No, I'm well aware.
And
he wasn't happy, but we
doing
didn't
that.
give him any choice. More like the second one.
That's correct. It could be like that. Okay. I think you did a great job.
Thank you. That's why I brought my son, because a lot of it is his.
You did a great job.
He's making you look good.
Raise time.
That's part of his job. Actually, to make Grist Associates look good.
Any other questions for the architect?
No. And the windows, actually I had one. The windows are wood, and so these are, they're not wood windows with metal cladding, they're just pure wood from inside and outside, right? And then they're going to get painted this color.
And true pane, which is kind of a misnomer because with dual pane windows, you don't have a piece of wood going right straight through the whole thing.
Right.
But you got a piece of wood and then you got a spacer, so it looks like it's true pane.
Okay.
Just a quick question. In the front, so the pitch of these two are the existing, right?
One of them is, and one of them is altered a little bit.
So this one is...
That's existing pretty much, and that's been altered a little bit.
Okay.
I would like to say that the roofs are exactly the same height as, they've been modified somewhat, but the roof height is basically the same as it is now.
One last question. The brick that's shown here is sort of this sort of mixture of lighter and darks, and is that the one? Or?
It's really intended to give somewhat of the appearance of what we used to call used brick.
Okay. Yeah.
When I was a pup, it used to irritate me to pay somebody to use my brick ahead of time, but I'm older now and wiser, and it's a good look.
Okay, but that's the look.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. And it's a narrow brick that you show here? Or?
Yes, she described it.
Okay. Great. Very good. I don't
Pacific
have
Clay knows better the dimensions. I don't know them by heart.
Excellent. No other questions?
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on this case? go ahead and close the public portion. And Mr. Insua, do you want to start this one off?
Sure. My first word I want to say is quality. One of the things I learned a long time ago when I was sitting on this board, you go, what distinguishes good architecture in neighborhoods that are already established? And the architecture can't be avoided. You got to have good architecture, but the use of materials and the quality of the use of that material, and I know Mr. Aliano sees that often in the doors and in the garage doors, it's about quality, and this project has that. When you start talking about wood windows and wood sills concrete sills and surrounds, and that's what makes this project really wonderful. As I turned pages, I just kept adding comments of how nice this is, and then when there's one that why this large ramp, well, I remember seeing this photograph. If you notice, there's really a bad proportion at the front of the house where it looks like the house you got to get a pole vault to get up to the top of the house, and this new entrance really hits that with a nice architecture which matches the house. So I think that, boy, 2 in a row, 2 good projects we've seen today. So good job.
Thank you, Mr. Insua. Mr. Ellis?
I would echo Mr. Insua's comments. The one question that I had, and I thought about asking it earlier, but I'll just kind of float it out here. The location of the compressor for the condenser for the HVAC, I'm always having an effect of a neighboring one, sensitive to where that lands as opposed to the neighbor's project, or if the bedroom is in that back corner. It looks like you guys have thought about this. I just kind of, that would be my one concern.
We can't have cross communication because it's being
causing a
recorded.
problem already. First meeting. I'm ready to approve it as is, though. It is a quality project. It's interesting then that there's another brick veneer project that has come before this board previously. Can you maybe give them this gentleman's name and number? And
I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't recall.
After 4 times, right?
I don't recall.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Mr. Aliano?
Yeah, I have also similar comments to echo, and I think you've done a great job, and I'd be happy to see it built. I did have one last question, though. And on the front roofs, right here, there's no gutters in the house, right? There's no gutters?
Yes, there's gutters all the way around the house.
If you would state your name for the record.
John Grist, architect, Grist Associates.
Now, this little roof here, how is this being drained if there's no gutters?
So there are gutters.
There are gutters.
There are gutters.
So where are the downspouts?
They just don't show very well on that elevation, I'm sorry.
But the downspouts are somewhere, are they hidden?
There'll be one right way there, and one there, and one there.
So you'll have that. And those
We'll have that on the drawings. We treat those like presentation drawings, and we don't get as detailed as, probably as good as we should for this board.
That's all right. On this perspective, then there'll be a downspout
Right
there.
Yeah, right there.
Is that like a copper or painted metal?
It'll be painted metal.
Okay.
It'll be painted the same color as the fascia.
Fascia, very good. Okay. Great, thank you. So with that, I'm in support of the project, and I think you've done a great job.
Stated in there.
Thank you, Mr. Aliano. Mr. Yu?
I think the quality materials, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's really going to shine there in that house. The wood windows, I think it's going to come out great. The stone sill, perfect. The front elevation, that's why I was asking sort of the slope of the front elevation roofs, just because they were slightly different, than the as you go around the house. It's more of a squared 90-degree, but it's kind of pinched in the front, and so that's why I was asking about it. Proportionally, it kind of took me a little while to get used to it because they're so close together in size in the front, but I think they're different enough to distinguish, I guess, from one portion to the other. I think that the large window is going to make a great entry area there, so I'm ready to support the project as is.
Thank you, Mr. Yu. I concur with my colleagues as well. Job well done. One could tell that a lot of time and effort was put into this design, and we certainly appreciate that. We also appreciate the material boards that you provided and all the examples, and it makes our job a little easier of identifying quickly what the materials are. So we appreciate that. And I could support the project as well. And so does staff want to maybe go over
Well, I don't have any additional comments from the board. If you like, I'm assuming we'll just maintain the conditions noted in the staff report as part of conditions of approval. Again, it's just to ensure that this, again, like you've stated earlier, that the high quality reflected on the plans will be maintained throughout the process.
And if I may, I wanted to mention that this particular applicant came in with an example, a very fine example that they were working from, and that really helped staff understand what the intent of the project was. So we want to applaud the architect for that, and it made it very easy for us to help them move forward with the intent
Actually, that
of
would be
the
his
applicant.
associate son.
That's right. As a team, the applicants brought in.
Hasn't made partner yet, but perhaps it's okay.
They're each pointing to the other one.
So we just wanted to recognize that and what a big difference that made for us.
Good.
And so I take it that the board is okay with all the conditions?
I'd like to make a motion to approve with the conditions and.
Do I need to go over the conditions again, or they're basically 1 through 5 noted in your staff report?
I think we're okay with them.
Okay.
I think we've all reviewed them.
Okay, so that was a motion made by Board Member Ellis.
Insua.
Oh, Insua, sorry.
I'll second.
And the second.
Mr. Yu seconded.
Mr. Yu, second. Okay, roll call. Board Member Insua?
Yes.
Board Member Yu?
Yes.
Board Member Aliano?
Yes.
Board Member Ellis?
Yes.
Board Member Simonian?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next case is 1-PDR-2008-054-8, 3161 Country Club Drive. And Mr. Collins is our staff presenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'll give you a quick tour up here and then my presentation. Case before you is 1-PDR 2008. Sorry to interrupt. 2008-054A, located at 3161 Country Club Drive. I have before you a site plan, existing floor plans and a roof plan, as well as elevations of the front, rear, and the sides, corresponding photos with each so you can see how it looks now and what the applicant is proposing that it will go to. We also have a material sample board, location map, and then the photos Mr. Ellis has. That's the basic tour. I'll give you my presentation. In this case, our subject project before you, the applicant is proposing to add 992 square feet, which includes the conversion of existing two-car garage into like a bedroom area onto an existing 1,727 square foot single-family house. Additionally, the applicant will construct a new attached two-car garage, which will be accessed off of San Gabriel. The project also includes a complete remodel of the exterior. Subject property is considered a through lot with frontages on Country Club and San Gabriel Avenue. Of the 992 square foot addition, 104 square feet will be added onto Country Club side and 888 square feet, including the garage conversion, on the San Gabriel side. As it relates to site planning, the existing building is a long rectangle fronting on Country Club Drive with access to the garage as mentioned from San Gabriel Avenue. Their proposal is a modest addition, minimally pushing out the existing walls to add to the perimeter of the building and the new garage. The proposed site planning, landscaping, parking appear consistent with the majority of the homes in the neighborhood and with the design guidelines. While the lot coverage exceeds what is recommended for the guidelines, the addition is not inappropriate for the neighborhood. As it relates to mass and scale, the footprint of the existing house will be enlarged a modest amount, and the building will remain one story. As a result, the mass and scale of the residence will largely remain the same. The proposal's overall height and setback appears consistent with the majority of homes in the neighborhood and with the intent of the design guidelines. proposed floor area ratio exceeds the neighborhood average, but is close to the average floor area and approximately 1,200 square feet below the largest house in the neighborhood. The addition is broken up around the perimeter of the house, and as a result, the proposal does not appear to have increased in mass and scale. As relates to building design and detailing, the applicant identifies the design of the existing one-story single-family house with the attached two-car garage built in 1950s as a ranch-style home. The proposal renovates the exterior facade to a French-inspired design, while the overall massing and configuration of the existing building is not predisposed to a French-inspired design. On the whole, the proposal does not appear inappropriate. Portions of the house appear to complement the existing ranch style. The offset entry and the use of stone material appear to break up the massing and connect well with the neighborhood. The quality and design of the proposal is appropriate for the neighborhood, and with the design guidelines, staff has included a condition to use fieldstone or a fieldstone face veneer instead of limestone for the exterior walls of the house, and this is to be more consistent with the proposed style of the house. The proposed addition appears to be compatible with the existing homes in the neighborhood. The applicant is proposing to keep the limestone on the facade and maintain the sill at the bottom of the windows. However, staff is recommending that the sill at the bottom of the windows should be removed and that the limestone should be changed, as mentioned, to fieldstone or fieldstone face veneer to be more consistent with the proposed French style. Staff has 4 conditions of approval that we are recommending, and I can run through those with you if you'd like. In addition, staff has received a letter of support from the Homeowners Association, which I've placed copies of before each of you. It's basically a letter of support with the association recommending that the permanent removal of a low white post railing currently in the front of the home, and they're wanting to ban any future installation of a similar non-plant fence structure. And per the plans that you have up on the wall, the applicant is proposing to remove the existing fence that's there now. That concludes staff presentation, and staff does recommend approval based on the 4 conditions, and the applicant is in the audience. I'm available for any questions.
Question for staff.
Thank you. Please.
What do you mean when you say condition number 4, there should not be any sills around the windows and including the bottom windows? Can you show me where that is? Because so I can understand where you're going at.
In the original submittal, there were sills all the way around. But in the elevations that we have provided for us now, we have sills being located at the bottoms of some of the windows. And staff feels it's more appropriate to the style that there not be any sills at the bottom. It was just to kind of clarify the location of the sills.
Okay. And then the next question I had was, the submittal package that we have is a little different than the one we have on the board. Which one, hopefully I'm not reading the wrong elevation, which I often do. No, the east elevation and the east elevation we have here is a little different. This has arch-topped windows on the protruding into the roof line. For example, our drawings show that we have the same style.
In fact, your drawings.
Yeah, yours
is different.
You're the only one who has that drawing.
Am I special?
You are special.
Always.
Let's see if we like that one better.
No.
So this is the latest version.
Yes.
Okay.
How did that happen?
All right, I like this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying is that the previous one, which I saw here, does have the vertical styles. The vertical styles are now gone, and the only thing we have now is the wood sills, but you would still recommend that eliminating the wood sills.
That's correct.
Okay.
Here, you want to look at?
No, good.
Okay.
And if the applicant were to remove the wood sills, would there be any other type of sill, or would it just be the stone leading up to the window?
That's up to the board's
I see. Okay.
discretion.
Do we have any more questions for staff?
Change it 10.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Our first speaker is Hamlet Zorabians, who is the architect for the project.
with us.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Happy New Year to all.
see you.
New Year.
My name is Hamza Zorabians. I'm the project architect. My address is 3800 La Crescenta Avenue, Suite 209, Glendale. Subject project is before you. We're proposing to add 1,000 square feet, as it was explained to you, to the it's a single-story addition to a single-story house. We had an option, obviously, to add the 1,000 square feet to the second floor. We went back and forth, and we decided not to go to the second floor and just remain one story in that area there. And it has a certain grace to it with a very nice deep front setback and all the lawn and everything that is there, and we didn't want to disturb that. So it met the requirements and the program which I was given by the owners, and when we talked about it, we stayed with a single story. Now, the major addition happens in the rear of the project. What we decided to do is that because we had an existing two-car garage on the south side, we are converting that and adding to it somewhat in front, making that into a master suite, and then we'll having the garage on the other side. So virtually what we are doing, we're taking the garage and pushing it back, in a sense. The effect of it will be that way. So the entrance, exit will remain the same. The traffic circulation and everything is the same as existing. And what we are doing, we're going to be replacing all the windows and the doors, and we are giving a new facade to the project itself, to the building itself. The existing one is a very rundown ranch-style house with a very low ceiling. In most of the areas, are very lower than actually 8-foot ceiling there. So in certain areas, I should say, in the south side. So by doing this, we are basically raising some of the ceiling areas, and the most important areas would be like the living room and the family room and the master suite that is going to be virtually new. We are using very high quality. I don't think it's like word adequate can explain it. I think we are using a real slate roof, which I think that's a very high quality material. We're using patina copper, real copper. Any material, any metal trim that you can see there with the gutters and everything is going to be just a patina copper. The windows will be all metal clad wood windows. And I should say something about the seal. Although we're not proposing to do any other wood surrounds or anything like this, but the seal that you see there is just the seal that comes with the window, and I cannot just go ahead and eliminate the seal itself. So what you see there, maybe it's kind of a misnomer. It's not. We're not proposing to add another seal to the window itself. The wood windows, they come with the detail and they have a seal to it. So that's what we meant. If it has caused any misunderstanding, I just want to clear it up. So what we have done, we had some window surrounds and some of the larger windows, which we have eliminated so far. As far as the stone is concerned, we still very strongly think that the limestone cut will be, which has a little bit more of a formal look to it, is to my client's liking, and I strongly support that stone. And that's why I didn't want to change the stone to a field stone. We just don't like the casual look of the field stone. And so if you would agree with me, we would like to keep the stone the way we have, the stone that we have proposed to keep. Other than that, we just basically employed some details, which is more of a French-inspired details. By no means we are trying to replicate a historical building, obviously. But we like to have that the sense of French details in there, and we're employing very high quality materials there. And we're not going to cut corners or anything on that. So that's basically the project. If you have any questions, I will be available to answer.
I did. So you said, so note number 6, maybe I misunderstood. Note number 6 is not valid, or is that valid only in the...
Well, when I said, we just called it out, we said because, you can see the smaller windows, you don't see so much of the seal itself, but when the window goes larger, you're going to have a wood seal underneath. That's where it's going to come with the manufacturer. We're going to have a wood seal.
So it's a seal that comes with, it's all kind of comes assembled
together.
So in these bigger windows, you're going to have one bigger one that grabs all these pieces.
Yeah, the bigger one. Like for instance, you have on the right hand side of the entry, you have a kind of a bay window, if you will, That's not going to be just cantilevered out. We are actually providing the base for it with a stone base. So on the top of the stone base, we're going to have a wood seal, which is going to receive a wood window. That's it.
But what about the windows to the left of the entry and then the one to the far left?
Yeah, those, again, what we have is a wood seal, but I'm trying to clear up that we're not going to be putting any additional trims or anything around the windows.
Just the sill?
Yeah,
Just
the
the
seal.
Okay.
That's what I was getting at, because we used to have more wider, actually, surrounds in the, beginning.
Now, what about the stone? The stone is a veneer, right?
Yes, it is. I mean,
how are you handling like the headers, for example? Are those going to have like either a lintel type of stone, or because when you do a veneer, when you do stone, you have
it's a
you have
stone.
a lintel and then you have stone around it.
Yes.
But with this stone, if they put it everywhere the same, including above the windows, then you don't get the sort of lintel feeling of the window.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the only thing that I noticed, that maybe, the drawings are small, but it'd be nice to see the top of the window having some kind of either a stone lintel or even the same stone used in a soldier, or however you want to do it.
We can do that.
It needs to look like a lintel. Otherwise, if it's the same as the other stone, it may not be convincing enough.
Sure. No, I understand. That's actually that's a very good suggestion.
But other than that, I'll make my comments. But I'm happy with the way things are going here. So. Very good. That's all I had.
Do we have any more questions for the architect? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's okay. I'll be available.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on this case? No? Then we'll go ahead and close the public portion. Mr. Yu, do you want to start this one off?
Sure.
It's your turn. Oh, that's the other one.
Yeah.
Okay.
First things first, I'd like to say thank you for the diagram, the beautiful diagram that shows the 50%. But you're cutting it close, 120-some square feet, huh? I think the materials, like you said, they're very high-end, and if that's the style that the owners want to see, then I think you've done a sort of a contemporary version of it. It's well done. Some of the areas where the stone is located, maybe I get a little bit of clarification on it, on how they were determined to become stone versus, the smoother surface that's there. Because starting from the front, it looks like the entry area and then the neighboring wall, and then there's a little portion where you kept it out to probably break up the mass of that and then jump over to that one. And then as it turns the corner on the south side, I think, you continue it. But then it also continues into the little niche as well. So I'm just curious about how you're controlling the stone there. And then in the back, it sort of shows up on one face and then the pop out. So maybe you can answer that if you come back up later. I mean, you could do it a little.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Sorry again, for the record, my name is Hamlet Zorabians, project architect. What we did, we looked at this, the location of the stone, and we've gone 3 or 4 different ways. But we don't want to leave the stone and just, leave it alone at the edges. Mm-hmm. So we found certain areas that the stone will return into the wall itself. So you can see when we did the stone on the left-hand side, on the south side, on the master face, because that corner is more visible as you're driving in. So we are returning that stone all the way to the center, and then we have a niche there. And the niche, instead of going plaster, I figure because of the landscaping and the water and so on and so forth, it's much better to have the stone around it. I think it's more durable than a plaster. And that's a continuation of it. So by the time you get to that point, you don't actually see the plaster portion of the rear. You see what I mean? Yeah. So that's only visible from the backside. So to make it short, is that we are taking the surfaces, and when they are returning, as they are returning, we're finishing the stone there. So each wall is going to have a return stone face.
What about this back portion? Isn't that just a plain face?
No, I don't think it's.
Is that a niche?
It's a bump out.
It's because it's the entire wall there, if you will, it would be like stone. But because it's occupied by the windows, do you follow what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So in other words, we don't have any location that is going to be just showing a plaster butting against the stone. It's just going to be stone wall where you have, if you will, windows punched into it. That's why it's the continuation of it. See what I mean? Like all around the windows, the doors that you see there will be all stone.
Okay.
You see? So only in that one location we have the stone returning, and then that entire wall is, if you will, stone, and then you have punched doors in between them. And then if we have to go with the detail on top of it, which is fine with me, we can just add that detail for the header. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mizrahians. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry to impose that on you.
That's all right.
Oh, goodness.
I think the addition's well done. I think this is one of the cases where you actually have studied the different options, and you could have easily have gone for a two-story and then, tried to keep some of that backyard area, but you are aided by the through lot, and it helps you in maneuvering that garage, and so I commend you on that part of it, and then, keeping sort of the front in the same elegance that it is now. So I think it's well done, and I'm ready to approve it.
Thank you, Mr. Yu. Mr. Ellis?
Yeah, I would agree. It's a very well-done project. I would support the homeowners association's request about the low white post railing fence in the front yard. But other than that, it's a nice-looking project. It'll definitely be a benefit to the neighborhood.
Mr. Insua?
Sure. Again, quality, great proportion, accuracy of materials, integrity of the architectural design elements, true to the period of the home that you're trying to do. Great work. And the recommendations, number 1, which is what Mr. Ellis is saying, I think that's okay. The fieldstone, I think that this architect continues to show excellence in design, and I wouldn't want to hamper what they originally wanted, so I couldn't support any changing of what he thinks he would like the stone veneer to be. Number 3, landscape. Sure, it's important for this neighborhood. It should be done well and submitted. And number 4, I think, is not applicable anymore since the windows changed. But I think it's a terrific project.
Thank you, Mr. Insua. Mr. Aliano?
Great, thank you. Yes, I agree with all the comments. I think this is just a good example of a project that's well thought out, and I'm confident that it will be carried out very well, just judging from the drawings and just understanding how the architect works and has done work in the past. Again, I'd like to echo again the concern that I had about the headers, if you could do that. And also, and you know this, I think it's more for the applicant and the owners to, that I say this so they can support you on this, is that it's very important that the stone, even though it's a veneer, when you return the corners, make sure everything is interlocked, not mitered, and the windows and so on. So when the architect says we should spend the money there, I would listen to him, because I think it will make a big difference.
Very good, very good.
Good point.
Other than that, I congratulate you and good luck with your new home.
Thank you, Mr. Aliano. I agree as well. It's very, the design is well thought out, and I also appreciate, as Mr. Yu pointed out, the detail analysis that's been conducted as far as the 50% rule for the remodel, and also just other details as well with the roof vents and so forth. You've gone through and done the calculations, and so you could tell that the architect has spent a lot of time thinking about the design and the details, because in this kind of a ornate facade, these copper details and ornamentation, they do stick out, and so therefore everything needs to be thought about up front, and the architect has done that with the chimneys and other bay window details that are presented to us. So I support this project as well, and I think it'll be a good addition to the neighborhood. And so I believe all the conditions were maintained except for the number 2, I believe it is, and so the board, I also believe that the limestone is a better fit, and so therefore we probably will have you repeat the conditions if you would, Mr. Collins, integrating the homeowners association's request and also striking the fieldstone comment, and we could probably proceed with this project.
Did the board want to eliminate number 4 as well from the conditions?
condition.
Well, I think the architect made it quite clear that the design of these windows is that the sill is where the water weeps off, and to eliminate that is not part of this design. You can see a submittal here. It's part of the integral design, so I think it works. It needs to work.
So number 4 should be eliminated then, right?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Is that what we're saying? Because number 4 says there should not be any sills around the windows, including the bottom of the window. So it sounds like the sill is part of the design of that window, so we have to respect that.
I think it's part of the manufacturer's.
Right.
It's
Part of the window, right.
It's a window.
Part of the window, right.
So is it
So I
maybe
guess we could say
worded
that
that
he's
just says,
satisfying it by not having a sill, it's part of the window.
is it satisfied that no additional, addition to the
Yeah.
manufacturer's window
Yeah, that's a
would
good
be
way to do
included?
it.
That's good, yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
want to word
No
it?
additional sill
I
other
would
than what the
actually
manufacturer has provided.
Yeah, I would suggest just striking that.
Thank
'cause
you.
Otherwise, it would be confusing.
So we're striking
Double
4.
negatives.
I can do a double negative for you if you need one.
We're striking 2.
Don't
go there.
I have the skill to ruin the English language.
Yes, sir. Native born.
So then, Mr. Collins, then we're striking number 2, condition number 2, and condition number 4, and then we're integrating the homeowners association's request as a condition.
Correct, about adding, not allowing the fence in the front off
Right.
of,
The white post railing.
right, off of Country Club Drive, and then adding Mr. Aliano's condition about the stone lintel or header
Oh,
being
correct,
placed at the top of the windows.
Some kind of a lintel stone or some sort, yeah.
Would this be on the top of all the windows or any particular ones?
Well, anywhere
or-
where there's stone, I think, whatever.
And-
Yeah, not all of
And
it.
I believe the applicant mentioned that this was a cultured stone product, and so that same product as a lintel above every opening where there's stone.
If they could make that, that would be great. I might have to do something.
Where possible, because some of them go all the way to the top. And
Some of them might be too tight to the
Possible.
plate, so you might not be able to do it, but we'll leave that up to your judgment.
Well, in those cases, should the window be modified so there could be a lintel, a consistent treatment above each window where the opening occurs in the stone?
Yeah, I think realistically, all the windows are going to have a little piece of space between the plate and the window head, so you will have something there.
Okay, so we'll make that a condition that it's a consistent treatment where there is an opening in a wall that has the stone veneer.
Yes, only with the stone veneer, right.
Just one request, please give us quarter-inch plans. These are so small.
Very good.
Yeah, I tell you.
Is there any other comments or conditions that you had noticed, Mr. Collins?
Just number 1, just to restate, is that their walls or fences on the south side of the property shall be legalized prior to the building permit being issued for the subject project. And then number 3, as mentioned, is a landscape plan shall be submitted for approval by the planning staff prior to the issuance of the building permit.
So you know what you could do on the end of 1, add a second sentence that says the existing fence, existing white, what do we call it here? White post railing on the, looking really quick north, so on the east facade will be removed and not replaced.
Got it.
That works? Okay.
Mr. Utsua?
Yes, when I read condition number 1, walls or fences on the south side over here, other property shall be legalized prior to a building department being issued for the subject property. What that means is the work is going to be done out of phase. And that's problematic when you're doing a construction site, because that means he's going to have to do the drawings, get the permit, get the work done, finished, have it finalized, because that's when you get legal, and then you have to issue a permit for construction. So it really becomes a sequencing and a more expensive necessary. You'll mobilize a team out there, they'll finish that whole fence, you get it finalized, and then you can pull a permit for the construction. I would like to see that something that says to this effect: the walls and or fences on the south side of the property shall be permitted concurrently with the issuance of a permit for remodel.
meaning that you can't get that without the other, so that they can have crews out there at the same time doing it all. Concurrently, I think is much better.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Perhaps I'm confused. Isn't that the same fence that the, no, different fence.
If you would.
The open hearing.
Just to shed some light on it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
You have to state your name for the record.
And my name is Ham. This is good. That's fine.
Now you know what happens.
What's your name?
Feel like.
Hamlet Zorakis. I'm the project architect. I think what you're referring to is only the first 18 feet, which is in the front setback.
15 feet.
15 feet. So it's not the entire wall. We're talking about only, if you can see that there's an existing wall there, that's technically, because this is a two-sided property, from the San Fernando side, there is a taller wall there. Whether to remove it bring it down to 18 inches or get it permitted. That's what you were referring to. So, but I think Mr. Insua is absolutely correct, because that will not be a hindrance to our process here, because I cannot do that before the building permit. So if it's the language, what you're suggesting, I think is to make it concurrent and everything. I think I appreciate it. I think that's going to work for us.
You've confused me now, though. On the plans, it says the existing 5'6" tall wood fence shall secure a permit.
No. If you go to the south side,
that's what I'm looking at. And so, what is the 18-inch high fence that you're talking about?
We are in the first 15 feet of the property.
On both streets?
Both streets. You are allowed to go only 18 inches tall. That's what the issue is.
With a wall.
And so this note here really references this part of the fence?
Yes.
Okay.
The note is already there. It's just
talked about it.
Yeah.
The applicant and I have already talked about it.
Okay. All right.
Now, we will deal with that. If we can get some sort of an exemption, we'll do, because most of the properties they have the same detail there. So, anyway. Thank you very much. I just wanted to clarify.
And the fence in the front setback, which we're talking about, the white post
that's
railing,
permitted.
that's gone.
Yeah.
And
that
that's
was permitted.
Well, that one's gone. That's a different issue. But the one that's off of
the one that
has a
you were talking
variance.
about,
the one
that's
on
going to be
Country
gone.
Club Drive.
Absolutely.
Right.
But this,
No.
where are they going to put that one's legal.
And that one's, I figured that one was legal. It looked like it might. Okay.
Yes.
No. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Clear? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you confused yet?
Do we have a motion?
We're about to
We're
get a
approaching.
motion.
There's one flying in the room.
All look confused.
And so you were able to reword condition number 1 for Mr. Insua's comments, and then condition number 2 and 4 were struck out, and then you inserted the homeowners association's condition and Mr. Aliano's
Lentils.
Lentil soup.
So then we have 2 total, is that right? Or
You should have 3 total.
Okay.
3 total?
The lentils.
Very good.
Lentil, that's right.
Then does someone want to make a motion?
I'll move acceptance of PDR 2008-054-8 with the recommended conditions.
I'll second it.
Was a second by Mr. Yu?
Mr. Aliano.
Got it. Okay, this will be roll call. Mr. Aliano?
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
Aye.
Mr. Insua?
Yes.
Mr. Yu?
Yes.
Chairman Simonian?
Yes.
Motion carries with a 5-0 vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I don't have any other speaker cards or anything like that, so that was our last case. And so the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from November 13th and December 4th.
Correct.
We had looked at November 13th, but there wasn't a quorum, I think. That was the
correct.
problem. Okay.
We had to postpone it. And
Actually got them via.
all five members were present.
Okay.
For both
I'll move to
meetings.
accept minutes of November 13th.
Motion made by Board Member Ellis and a second by
I'll second.
Board Member Yu.
Don't
Board
sign
Member
them now, Art.
Ellis.
Yes.
Board Member Insua.
It may not pass.
Board Member Yu.
Yes.
Board Member Aliano.
Yes.
Chairman Simonian.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 5-0. And now for the minutes of December the 4th.
Tap dance.
I was at
December the 4th.
Actually,
Yes, you were.
December 4th, all 5 members
All
were
5
present.
were present.
members were there. Not there at the other one, yeah.
Actually, November 13th, Board Member Aliano arrived.
I'm glad you said that softly.
Softly.
He was delayed, and he arrived when he was.
Arrived a little.
Would someone like to make a motion?
Well, I got something I think we all, when I say it, I think we all will probably remember.
Yes, please.
On the project 1 PDR 2008, try and address, is 503 West Kenneth.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the things that I recall being very important, I know Mr. Aliano had indicated that it was true and conditional, is that the windows have a deep setting to them, and that I don't see that condition added here, so that the deep recessed windows with a minimum of like a 2x6 framing with the windows set back was something I recall all of us thinking was very important for this Mediterranean-type home, and I didn't see it as part of this listing of conditions, and I know we wanted it there, and we all talked about it, so I recall that.
And so then we would be adding an 11th condition to 503 West Kenneth?
Perhaps what we could do is just amend condition number 5 to include that deep recess, because condition number 5, as stated, is provide additional specifications in a window cut sheet for details. Indicate exterior three-dimensional divided lights, typical with wood or precast sills for all windows. High-quality material shall be used, and we can add that to ensure that the windows be recessed.
With a deep set recess.
Well, we have been working with the applicant and have been discussing a recess. Now, a deep recess, I'm not so clear on what that means, so
One
perhaps...
of the things I remember, forgive me, that we were discussing, if I remember Mr. Aliano's thought was that the window opening itself needed to be deeply recessed, typical that you would find in like a 2x6 framing.
Well, our understanding was that the window should be placed at the back of the wall rather than flush with the
discussion
exterior
was-
of the wall.
I recall it, I remember mentioning to the gentleman that the window should have a deep recess within the exterior elevation, and that deep recess would be achieved only through a 2x6 framing, and that the applicant indicated that, in fact, the exterior framing was 2x6. So that's a condition that I want to make crystal clear. In addition to that, when he showed us the cut sheets showed that the manufacturer of the windows that he submitted had the glazing or the glass portion of the glass towards the front of the framing. And I thought that also was not really condition of what we were looking for, that the window within the manufacturer's frame should be inset or towards the interior. Those two
Right.
conditions were very important.
Right.
And I wanted-
that's what we understood, that the window is towards the interior of the 2x6 framing and that the glazing is also towards the interior.
Excellent. So the exterior wall framing shall be 2x6 framing, and then, as you mentioned, the glass be set
Which
back
it
in the
isn't.
front.
But which it isn't, so...
Well, and I asked the applicant, because I drive by that house every day. and
I understand, and you
And I
you specifically
questioned it.
mentioned it to the applicant, and the applicant confirmed that it was 2x6 framing. So
And
we'll
I
be
indicate-
following up on that.
And
They're
the
just gonna
drawings that
thicken it.
and that the drawings that they showed reflected a 2x4 framing. But I thought that what I know about that house, I didn't believe that was the condition there. But they said it was 2x6 and that they would be able to achieve those two things that we were considering.
We are in the process of making it clear to the applicant that the recessed window, the condition of the recessed window is required, and if it is not constructed that way, they will be required to come back to the DRB, because that's not something that we will sign off on or approve as staff. We are rigorously following the many conditions that were applied to this project, and we're working very closely with the applicant to make sure that all of those conditions are met.
So if they're providing a detail, it would almost have to be, the interior would have to be furred in order to get some sort of a...
However they manage to do that, we understand that the intent of this board is not to have the 4-inch exterior framing, because the 4-inch exterior framing essentially doesn't allow for a recessed window.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Insua. And your investigative work.
To move on?
I remember, because all the walls look the same thickness, and you asked them specifically.
Right.
I moved that we approve the approval of the minutes with that addition that we just discussed.
I'll second. I'm sorry?
2 seconds.
2 seconds.
You can take
Was that
it.
a board member Ellis or board member you for a
He
second?
can have it. It's a happy New Year.
It's New Year, he's giving them away.
Okay, so board member Ellis. So board member Ellis,
Aye.
board member Insua,
Yes.
board member you,
Yes.
board member Aliano,
Yes.
Chairman Simonian.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And the next item is new business or board discussions, if there is any.
We
I
not?
do. Vila, you were kind enough to send us an email concerning
Ethics training.
ethic training.
Correct.
Am I understanding correct? I know that there's a period date where we can visit physically here, but am I understanding correctly the email that we can also go online and take the training?
And again, just for the individuals that are in the audience at home, this was going to be something we discussed after the meeting, but now that it's brought up, all board members must attend an ethics training every 2 years to be current on current policies and procedures regarding ethics. The training will be conducted on the 26th of this month. All board members are welcome to participate. If due to schedule,
Where will it be held again?
it will be held in the police department community room. If you are unable to attend in person that day, we ask that the board members go online. The website was sent to you via email. Go online. It's a self-certification process, and if you wouldn't mind providing us a copy of the certificate to the city clerks to have on record that you have attended the ethics training online.
Is there a deadline for that ethics
And that
training?
deadline would be by the end of January 2009.
Wow.
So it is coming up. So the ethics training itself in person is
I'm
January
ethically
26th.
certified.
Online, it would be by January 31st.
So if we don't see you at the 26th, we will be calling you on the 31st for your self-certification. Thank you.
Saturday.
Our self-certification. I move
Remember, it's an ethical training. You have to self-certify.
Consistent with all your New Year's resolutions.
Oh, boy. There's a lapse with it. Any other comment?
All right.
Anything else?
With that said, Happy New Year to
Happy New
everyone.
Year.
All right, so move to
So-
adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Six-
Thank you, guys. Wow.
Believe that?
Very good.
You guys.